Does your child have big emotions that come out as temper tantrums, meltdowns, embarrassing moments in Walmart, slamming doors, rolling their eyes at you, or clamming up? You might be the mama, but you have big emotions too. Pressures, stresses, overwhelm. And while you are the adult, you lose it sometimes too. How can we stay calm when our children are not? What do we need to address in ourselves first before we help our children? How can you encourage your children to obey the first time with a happy, willing heart? How can you know that you are reaching your child's heart and that you are doing okay at this parenting thing? I am thrilled to have Jenn Dean from Families Matter Most on today's episode of the Renewed Mama podcast because she will be answering all of these questions. Jenn is a family coach, a parenting expert, and a health trainer. Her mission is to help families thrive. The best way to teach your kids is to reach their hearts, and Jenn helps moms and dads do that every day. You can find her at familiesmattersmost.com. Hey mama, do you catch yourself thinking and speaking a whole lot of negativity and complaining? Do you try to keep your patience but find yourself frustrated and shouting instead? Do you feel tired, pulled in all directions, like it's too much? Mama, you juggle all the things, the kids, their schoolwork, their activities, the dishes, the laundry, your own work or business. What's for dinner again? And your marriage. Whew, even in the middle of it all, you can stay renewed. You can think right, speak right, and respond right. I'm Kimberly Mutar, and I help mamas like you stay renewed. Did you know that your words are two things, blessings or curses? Are you thinking and speaking blessings and words of life over all you juggle each day? Or are you thinking and speaking negativity, complaining, and word curses? You can keep watch over your thoughts and your words so that you stay renewed and live from a place of joy and peace. If you need another mama who's juggling it all too to help you stay renewed in your thoughts, the words you say, and your parenting approach, this is the podcast for you. Let's go. Welcome to the Renewed Mama podcast, Jenn. Tell us how you came to be a family coach and a parenting expert. I love to hear other people's stories.
This is a long story, but I'll give you in a nutshell. I was crying every day, Kimberly, every day. I felt like the worst mom that ever lived. I loved my kids and I was trying my hardest, but it felt like nothing was working. I wasn't reaching their hearts. And even if I was making them obey, I could tell it actually wasn't helping our relationship. I could see in their eyes, there was bitterness, hurt, some pain, some anger, and I wasn't reaching their hearts. I wasn't connecting. So I felt like I was just failing at everything, at life. And I would strap them into the minivan and then I would sit on my step and I would cry. And it was a really hard time and also a beautiful time of loving my kids. It was this bizarre thing of me trying to figure this out and feeling like, hey, I can't just read a book and fix this. Everything I know to do isn't working. And I'm totally dating myself when I say that Dr. Phil was my parenting expert in those years, right? It was Oprah and Dr. Phil and 1-2-3 Magic and Super Nanny on TV. And I was trying all of these strategies and some of them worked okay. And some of them would work for a little while and some of them didn't work at all. And I really had to figure out how I could, reach my kids and build their character and make sure that we have a good, strong relationship. And B, still get them to, do the right thing.
Right.
So all of that to say, and this was more than a decade ago. My youngest is now 16. I have three, and this is when they were just little toddlers. So I've learned a ton of things along the way. I finally thought, you know what? If I'm crying every day, I bet other moms are crying every day too. And I started a support group, a moms group where we talked about some of these things. I eventually went and got training to be able to teach parenting seminars. And then I figured out, some of the things that I'm teaching, I learned here, and some of them I learned over here, and I picked this up here, and I'm tweaking everything. And finally I thought, I just have to do this on my own, because
Mm.
I'm not fixed to one organization anymore. I've picked up all these tools that I don't even know who belongs to what anymore. So then I went on my own, and it's been a blast.
Well, I can totally relate to the crying and seeing the countenance or the face of your children just melt with your words or your tone of voice. And you're just like, I don't know how to fix this. We have, as moms, that pressure and overwhelm and our own past that we have to work through too. And then we throw children in the mix.
Right. And tiredness, throw that in there. We're not at our best either. And we can have bad days. No, you're 100% right. I was a yeller. I had all emotion. I had my own stuff to work through. And I think that's why I really wanted to add the life coaching part to it. So I was teaching these parenting seminars. And then I realized, so this is the journey. This is the way that it kind of just happened, unfolded, is I'm teaching the parenting seminars, and parents are saying, I really want to do this, but I'm just so stressed. I don't know how to take care of myself. And I just want to, get sleep better and have more energy. So I thought, okay, well, I need to become a personal trainer and a nutrition expert to help people and learn how to deal with stress. And I need to be able to share that with parents. And so I got all of my certifications for that. And I incorporated the health and wellness piece. So I could really help parents, But then, Kimberly, I figured out something else. And this, and this is up your alley. I figured out, wait a minute, parents probably know they should take care of themselves. There's a reason they're not. And it's not because they don't know what to eat. It's because of what's going on in their own minds. It's their thoughts. It's those lies they believe, the negative thinking, and how to actually take our thoughts captive. I think most people in the world don't know how to do that. When I incorporated that, then it feels like, okay, now I have this whole package to be able to help families completely, from moms, dads, down to the kids.
We are whole people. So
right.
We have to address all of it, right? Little by little layers.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And I feel like if I could go back, that's where I needed to start. I didn't see it at the time, but if I could go back, and so much of what I do now, my practice focuses on helping moms take care of themselves. Because looking back, if I could have learned how to deal with my thoughts, deal with my stress, look at some of the stuff in my past, some of these negative thinking that was going on, if I could have learned and had compassion for myself instead of just beating myself up all the time, I think that would have helped all of the other areas exponentially.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. Well, let's talk about big emotions. Okay. We're rolling with this same idea. Our kids have big emotions that come out as temper tantrums, meltdowns, the embarrassing Walmart displays.
Oh, yes.
Slamming doors, rolling their eyes. But we have big emotions too, even though we are the adults. We have those pressures and those stresses, the overwhelm that we've already talked about. So we lose it. It's just what happens. So tell us how we can stay calm. I know we can stay calm even when our children are not.
Well, can I share two stories? I'll share a story of when I did this badly. And then I'll share one of when I pulled it together and I rallied through and we had success. Okay. Yeah. And I love to share this story with parents because, first of all, I've blown it. Like everything that I share, everything that I teach comes from a place of absolute empathy. Parenting is so, so hard. And I think I've done everything wrong that you could do. So it's possible to come back from that and still have really, really great relationships as long as we're willing to keep working at it, right?
Right.
This one time, the child that I'm thinking of was in grade 4, so about 9 years old, I would say. And he was late getting out the door. We were trying to go somewhere. And to be fair, I think I overslept. I was not prepared. I was exhausted. I was running late. And you know what that looks like for moms? We're running around the house. We're shouting out, hurry, get your stuff, grab your shoes, put your dishes. And I'm not fully prepared. I'm not really present. I'm a bit, right? I'm a tornado going around the house and I'm getting really mad. Now, to be honest, looking back, I was frustrated at myself. I was mad at myself because I knew I wasn't ready and we were going to be late and it was my fault. I should have been better prepared, but I didn't say any of those things. No, I took it all out.
Didn't tell the kids.
No. So I'm trying to hurry them up. And you know what that's like. As soon as you try to hurry up a child, what do? They slow down.
Yes.
So I'm there and we're getting out the door. And at this point, I absolutely was having a mommy temper tantrum. I was like spewing out, anger. And it looked like on my child's face, it looked like he didn't care. It looked like he was just mad at me and defensive. And so I wanted him to know even more that he was slow and he was making us late. And why won't he just listen to me? So I am completely out of control. And we're walking out to the van and I am lecturing / yelling at him for not being ready and not listening. And he just stopped and he looked at me with tears in his eyes and he said, I know, Mom, I know I'm stupid. Okay. And what have I done? What have I done? He was hearing me that whole time. And even though his face might not have shown it, on the inside, what was I saying to him? And he was taking it all in and he was agreeing with everything I was saying. Yeah, I'm stupid. I know I'm late. I'll never get it right. I never learn. And my heart broke and I fell apart in the minivan and I apologized. And that was a mommy temper tantrum. I was out of control. And I think we've all had those days. Thankfully, our kids are gracious and they can forgive us and we can move on and we can have a redo. Thankfully.
I think we have all had those minivan,
meltdowns,
reconciliations.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Will you please forgive me? I did not handle that well. I was just frustrated.
Right. That's right. It's not okay.
At myself.
Yep. Yeah. It's not okay to talk to you that way. That is not true. So that I love to share that, hopefully to encourage and empathize with other parents that have also said the things and afterwards, what have we done to know that you're not alone? But we can work on it. We can improve and we can keep trying. Another instance, I was working with one of my kids and we homeschool. We've done all the schools. We've done public and private and homeschool. And so probably like every trigger that I have as a mom, one of my kid pushed one day. So I went into his room. He was very upset. He said, Mom, he said, Mom, you're not a good teacher. You haven't done a good job of preparing me for my future. And this parenting stuff you teach doesn't even work. Like twist the knife in my heart. Like, is there anything else? Like that's every hope and dream I have for my kid right there. And everything in me wanted to defend, wanted to react. And I wanted to come back and say, yeah, well, you weren't the best student. And, I wanted to come back and be mean and say, well, who do you think you are? And I tried and, it's on you. But in that moment, I took a breath And I actually invented a reason to get away for a second. So I call it taking a break, but I invented a reason of, I got to go check the printer. I think there's something in the printer. So like just to get out of there before I said something. And so I went and checked the printer and I'm looking through I've got nothing there. I'm just, and I'm taking a breath and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is every hurtful thing for me. But what if everything he's saying to me, he actually means about himself? Like, what if? And so I walked back into the room and it was hard, but I went back and I said, hey, you know what? I love you so much. And it's not okay to talk to people that way. And we're going to have a conversation about that later. I said, but right now I'm choosing to hear that you're terrified for your future. You're afraid you didn't work hard enough. You didn't get a good enough education, and you might not have what it takes for your future. You're worried that you're not prepared and that you won't do well at life. And he visibly deflated in front of me, and his eyes welled up with tears, and he just kind of breathed out the words like, yes. And we were able to have a moment, and I could give him a hug and I could speak life into him, just like you teach, Kimberly. And then later on, we could talk about the words and how we're going to handle these feelings. But in the moment, I just wanted to connect with his heart. And that is a win. That is a win, because I could have said some really hurtful things in that moment. And a part of me wanted to, but I had to look after my own big emotions to be able to help him with his. So I hope that speaks to someone listening. I hope that someone watching, that encourages them to keep trying. And what if those negative behaviors or those words that your kids are doing, what if it's more of a reflection on how they're feeling about themselves than it is to do with you at all?
Wow, that's like a mic drop there. I love how you took the printer break so that you could rethink or refocus and say, wait a second here. What is, I mean, we talk about on the Renewed Mama podcast, what is the right thing for me to think and to say, and then how to respond. And so that little pause gave you the chance to think about his heart, not just how you could have been offended by his words.
Yeah, that was crucial. I don't think I could have done it without that pause to be able to take a breath and to say, for me, the key words are what if? What if he means it about him? So if your child says, I hate you, mommy, I wish I had a different family, and what if instead of saying that you're the worst mom in the world, what if he means that he feels like he doesn't fit in? What if he means that he's afraid he doesn't belong in this family? And I've worked with lots of kids that will say they feel like the broken one, the one that's always getting in trouble. They're broken. Something's wrong with me. I don't belong here. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
As I said, I've blown it so many times, but thankfully there's grace, and kids are really resilient as long as we keep working on it. And we can keep coming back and saying, you know what, I'm working on anger. Let's work on this together. I'm so sorry.
One of the best gifts that we can give to ourselves and to our children is forgiveness, and asking for forgiveness to say, I'm sorry. Will you please forgive me? I'm learning this too. And I handled that wrong. And to also remember that the more that we practice, the more we have those little wins, the more we will have. That we'll say, oh, okay, absolutely. I did it there. I did it right. I connected with my child's heart. We had that breakthrough, and then another one will come and another one will come, right?
Yes.
Keep trying.
Oh, I love that. Yep. That's really encouraging.
Do you want your words of encouragement and praise to have a lasting impact on your children? Then give them Speak Life Badges Sticker Awards. Here's what Erica had to say about Speak Life Badges. Today I challenged Clayton to take a baby step in bravery at the splash pad. I know these little word seeds of encouragement will grow and help him when he needs bravery in the future. At bedtime, I removed the sticker and placed it beside the mirror. Just glancing at it really encouraged my heart too. Words seem so small,
but are so powerful and can completely change the way we view ourselves. Shop Speak Life Badges today at speaklifebadges.com. Tell us when our children are having the temper tantrums and the meltdowns, what are some things that we can do to help them calm down their emotions, to process those emotions?
What a great question. I spend a lot of my time helping parents and kids with self-control. That's the big thing. So for little kids, what we want to teach, the overall principle is that we don't solve our problem until we're calm. So we don't use anger to solve our problem. And that goes for kids. Also goes for parents. We don't use anger to solve our problem. We also don't use drama, manipulation, emotions of any kind, tears. And sometimes kids can fall into that where they learn how to use tears to solve their problem and get what they want. We don't want to do that. We want to use words to solve our problem. And so the first step in that is just learning how to get calm. I like to teach families the principle of calm face, calm voice, and calm body. And it doesn't mean happy. Please don't hear me say, and I know some of us were raised maybe with that whole, like, you go to your room and come out when you're happy. Right. I'm not saying your emotions aren't okay. We can be happy, sad, angry. We just can't use that to manipulate and control or to solve problems. So you can be upset, you can be angry and still be calm. And I think some of us have a hard time. We have to figure that out. How can I be upset and angry or sad, but yet still be calm, still be under control? So I think step one is helping our kids know. So when I'm working with families, one of the things that I'll do is, like Super Nanny, I can go into families, homes virtually, and we can work on these things together. And so we'll teach the principle of calm voice. Okay, so what does that look like to have a calm voice, calm face? Like you can roll your eyes, you can glower. Calm body. So if you're crossing your arms or sticking your hip out, that's not a calm body. If you're stomping down the hall, that's not calm. Let's come back and have a redo. So, you know, if you can, if your kids are the right age and you feel like, yeah, we can work on this, you can teach this yourself. Absolutely. One way I like to do it is by making it into a game, and younger kids love this. I'll ask parents, like, what do you look like when you're angry? And I'll ask kids, what do you look like when you're, and kids will do their like, you know, my tantrum. And then for fun, I'll be like, what does mom look like when she's angry? And they know, even if dad's like, I don't know what I look like. Oh, ask the kids. They 100% know exactly what you look like when you're angry. So these kids are having fun reenacting dad, you know, yelling, or mom slamming a door or whatever it is, right? Stomping around the house. And so we talk about that. We try and break it down into what are your cues. So it's always physical first before our brain figures out that we're upset. It's always in our bodies. So the first thing is, where do you feel it in your body? And so we'll get kids to be like, you know, my hands go into fists, or my shoulder, or some people it's forehead. What is it for you, Kimberly? When you're feeling angry, where do you feel it first in your body?
Oh, good question. Probably tensed up, like.
Okay. So your eyebrows.
Yeah.
Gonna do that. And maybe and some people, the
clenched jaw.
Okay. So that's going to be your cue, your own personal cue that, okay, something's not okay here. And your brain will figure it out later. But if we can help to slow it down, that's going to go a long way to help kids. You can say to them like, oh, I can see you're getting angry because your shoulders are doing this. What's going on? If we can catch it ahead of time, we can help with the, you know what, your face, something's wrong. I can tell you're really angry because you're growling, you know, or your voice. Kids could say like, okay, mom. And you could be like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, fine, dad. Okay, I can tell you're not calm there, right? Something's wrong. Let's have a redo. Let's try it calmly. And if you're upset or angry, let's talk about that, but let's make sure that we're calm about it. So practicing that. So that's step one, is recognizing, you know, what it looks like when we're calm and we're not calm. And I mean, that's like a whole day in itself. Like, this is a process, right?
Right.
And then step two is helping our kids to get calm in the process. So catching it ahead of time. Hey, you know, you're playing with your sister and my spider sense is going off. I can just tell this is going to go badly. Like, I
Mm.
just know. So, you know what? Let's do a couple of things to get calm. I can see, I can see your throat is getting sharp, like your voice is getting more sharp. You're getting upset. Let's take a minute. What can we do to get calm here? Is there a problem we need to solve? Let's use words to solve the problem. So let's get in front of it. It's going to be helpful. Once we're out of control, and for a toddler, we all know what that looks like. We can't reason. We can't yell at them. We can't logic them. We can't coerce them. We just have to kind of step over them and give them some space and make sure they're safe. And then once they're calm, then we can deal with whatever the issue was. But in the middle of it, there's nothing you can do in the middle of a tantrum. There's really nothing. They are out of control. And so I like to teach that. Okay, we know what it looks like for a 2-year-old, but for a 6-year-old, 7-year-old, it might look like yelling, slamming, kicking, throwing it, right? It might look different, but are they out of control? And if the answer is yes, then there's no point engaging. We can't logic, we can't reason. We first have to get calm, and then we can solve this problem. And so if I can have one more thing on this topic, if that's okay with you, Kimberly.
Of course, keep going. This is awesome.
So all of these are bigger pieces to work on, but the thing you can do in the midst of, if your child is old enough that you feel like, okay, and I've done this even with 3-4-year-olds, you can say to them in the midst of, they're starting to lose it, and you can tell, or they're spewing something at you, and you can tell this is just pure emotion, this is anger. You can very calmly say, hey, you know what? I absolutely want to help you through this. I really want to help you, but not until you're calm. What can we do? What can we do to get calm? Let me help you. And depending, age appropriateness, even with 3-4-year-olds, it's like, oh, you're feeling really angry. We'll fix this. First, let's take some breaths. And I think what we're teaching is the most important thing is that self-control. Right. Then we can solve anything. We can fix any problem. But the first most important thing is that we can regulate, that we can get calm, that we can do that together. And if your child is young, you can take some deep breaths with them. You can model it with them. You can be like, oh, your eyebrows are really scrunchy. Let's practice. Oh, look at that's better. You can help them to do it. If they're a little bit older, maybe they'd like to sit in a certain spot. I love, particularly boys, love a journal that they can scribble in, and like as angry as they are, like just go to work on the pages, rip them up. It's fine as long as they clean up afterwards. Girls, and I'm stereotyping, lots of girls like to draw pictures. Boys just like to destroy it. It just feels good. But that's fine. That's fine. And then let's take some breaths, and then let's talk about it. We don't ignore it. We still solve the problem, but not until we're calm.
That's so helpful. For one of ours, like you said, catching it early, we would just hold her and like hold her close, snuggle, and then whisper peace in her ear. And then until we felt her melt, and then we knew she was calm enough to work through it.
Yes. Yeah. And you can feel that, hey, when you have a little one and they're fighting and pushing against you, and you're not hurting them. It's nothing harsh. You're just letting them know, hey, and you're breathing deeply for them, and they can feel that. And you feel it when they stop fighting it. Okay, we'll take some deep breaths. And then you can look into their eyes, and you can absolutely see that you can connect now.
Right. Well, for her, she needed to know that she was safe, and those arms were the shelter.
Yes.
The safe place. Okay, so when we're talking about self-control, we use the word self-control with our children. We would just say self-control. Took the training to say that at that cue, that word cue, that they were to take that deep breath and stuff. But I was thinking about it. Remember, you said, go to your room until you come out happy.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, I'm just replaying those times when we had to use self-control a lot. I hope that we didn't give the impression that they had to stifle those feelings. I should ask them.
That would be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, now that they're old enough to tell me.
Yes, I love to wrap up any conflict, any consequence, any issue with a 3-question debrief afterwards, which I hope opens the door for some of those conversations. But I always like to follow up with an issue like that with 3 questions. So I don't want to, if I said, you just go over there until you're calm and then you can go play, I feel like I'm not giving space to actually deal with the emotions.
Okay, yeah.
But if I've said to them, you go over there and when you're calm, you tell me, and then we're going to talk about it. I hope that what's coming across is, okay, once we're calm, then we come together. And then I will listen to the anger, the fear, the sadness. I will listen to that all day. And we can talk about these emotions together and solve the problem. Now, I should say a caveat before I get to the 3 questions. I should say, we all know, I think, as parents, though, when the solution is just to grab them and hug them. Like, we know that. I'm not saying like, you're crying, you're hurt, go over there and be calm. Sometimes the solution is just to grab your kids and hug them, and that's what you have to do. I'm talking about the times when there's like a feeling where you think like, oh, this is kind of, it could be manipulation or it could be anger, and right, it's not like pain. I think the solution to pain is almost always going to be like, come here, let's hug it out. Let me help you. Let me advocate. Let's solve this problem together, but I'm here for you. I'm talking about those other emotions where we sense as parents, okay, there's something else going on here. And the solution isn't just to comfort. The solution is to solve a problem.
Okay.
Yeah. So just to be clear, I don't want any parents feeling like they should never comfort their hurting child. That would be a different situation. But after there's been a conflict of some kind and your child has, they've done the work and they've tried to be calm and you've coached them through that, then let's talk about the problem. Sometimes what you can say to them, these 3 questions I use quite a bit. Question 1 is, what went wrong? And they can answer that. And then question number 2 is, why did it go wrong? And this is where you can get into the, like, they hurt my feelings, or, I was angry, so I pushed them, or, whatever, that I didn't get the snack that I wanted, so I yelled. You can get into that. And then the third one is, what can you do next time? Like, what can we do differently? And I love that. I love that we're thinking of a positive solution. Okay, next time that happens, maybe come and talk to me first, or maybe walk away, or maybe let's use our words and get ahead of it and say, Mom, I'm really upset because I thought we were having this for snack. Yeah. So I love those 3 questions. And I think, honestly, Kimberly, if you're utilizing those 3 questions in a way that you're genuinely interested in helping them solve that problem, I don't think you're going to be giving them that impression of, I don't want to hear about your emotion.
Good. We would role play too, how to respond next time, a better way to handle it, right?
Yeah. See, so
that looks like, it wasn't just words to them. It was like, okay, now I can see how I should, when my sister takes this toy and I didn't like it, I was playing with it or whatever, how they could try that again.
Love it. I love it. Yeah. It's okay to feel angry. It's just not okay to use that anger to hit your sister.
Right.
Austin the Hedgehog is bringing mailbox fun to your kids. Your children ages 3 to 13 can receive mailbox surprises like activity postcards, happy birthday cards, stickers, crafts, recipe cards, coloring pages, puzzles, special gifts like the I Am Loved journal, a tumbler, Austin's matching happy birthday toque, and so much more from Austin the Hedgehog, straight to your mailbox with their own name on it each month. All teaching life lessons such as helping, using time wisely, how to monitor their own screen time, how to choose the right friends. Being strong means more than just muscles, how to have self-control, and their words are like seeds that will grow into fruit in their life. It is oh so good from Austin the Hedgehog. 2 subscription levels are available. Register your children today at austinskidsclub.com.
So let's talk about obeying the first time, or obeying right away. How did you find ways to encourage your children to obey the first time with a happy heart?
Yes, the goal. So the bar is high. What we want is first time obedience with a good attitude. And we want our kids to want to do the right thing, even when we're not around. That's the ultimate, right? We want them to make the right choices, even when nobody's looking. So we have a really high bar. So let's know that the bar is here. We're going to miss it a ton. And that's okay. We're going to keep striving for that high bar, knowing that, yeah, there's lots of times we're going to fail. And that's perfectly normal. It often feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but keep going, moms and dads, on. Keep going, renewed mamas, and taking those steps forward, because over time, you really do see that it makes a difference. Some ways that we've used that. It's funny, when I mentioned Dr. Phil kind of taught me parenting. He was a big fan of like counting to 3. And so I was teaching my kids, I'm going to count to 3 and 1, 2, 3 magic, right? Like, and I'm going to do this countdown and you better listen. And I noticed that they wouldn't listen to me until just before the last number. And then you'd get to like 2.5, 2 3/4. Come on. And then I found myself nagging and threatening. I'm going to get to 3 soon. If I get to 3, then you're in big trouble. Oh, I'm almost at 3. And it was exhausting.
Yes.
By the time I got to 3, I was angry. I was not my best. At this point, I'm yelling. I'm mad. I'm feeling like nobody listens to me. And I felt like my kids weren't learning to listen to my words. They were learning to listen to my body language and my tone of voice.
Right.
And that's what we don't want, because moms, when you fall into that trap, and moms will say, they only listen if I yell. Oh, that's a hard one, because we've done that to ourselves. And I've been there because we've threatened, we've nagged, we've repeated. And our kids are so smart. They will learn. They're good kids, but we're all a little bit selfish and we want what we want. They will learn to ignore us until just before the action point.
Right.
So they know your tone of voice, mom. They know your body language. They know when you mean action, and they know at some point it changes. And the next words out of your mouth are going to come with a consequence. There's going to be some action. And so they will ignore you until just before that point. They're so smart. So my job is to help moms find that place. What is your action point? And then we're going to move it up. So instead of 10 minutes of reminders and nags and threats, and we're going to move that up, and we're going to do it calmly. The other problem with, waiting that long to the action point is by then we're angry and we start saying terrible things. We're like canceling Christmas. And,
That's right.
Our consequences are insane at that point because we're so mad. So I want to tighten up the action point and move it a little bit closer, so that in the goal is that we would give 1 instruction. I like to give 1 reminder that's not a threat. And then after that, there would be a consequence, and it would be a smaller consequence. We're not taking away screens for 2 months. It would be a smaller consequence, but something that you can live with, something that the child can do quickly, and then, be back in family life, so that they're getting that instant feedback of, oh, hey, wait, you know what? I didn't listen to mom's words. I had to do this consequence, and now I'm going to try again. So for example, Kimberly is 7 years old and she wants to have time playing a video game or on a screen or watching YouTube videos, right? And mom says, okay, you know what? After this episode, you have to turn it off. And let's say that episode's, almost over or it's ending. And mom says, remember, I gave you an instruction to turn it off after that episode. So my reminder is always about what we want our kids to do. Not remember, you don't listen, you're going to be in trouble. It's not a threat. It's a reminder of what we want them to do. Remember, I gave you an instruction. Remember, you have to turn it off now. And so you're almost like a coach for your child at that point, a reminder. And at that point, if there's no follow through, no obedience, then you're going to calmly say, okay, you chose not to follow the family rule, or you chose not to follow mom's instruction. You have a consequence now. And it's calm. We don't need to be emotional about it. It's not personal against you, mom. It's just that some kids have to learn the hard way. And I was one of them. So I get it. Some kids just have to learn that way. They can't take your word for it. They're not just going to listen to your good advice. They have to test it out for themselves.
Fantastic.
Did you utilize any of those strategies in your home, Kimberly, or did you do something different?
Everything that you said, we reminded them that we want them to have the most fun and that our directions help them have the most fun. We just thought about the idea of safety. Like if we gave them the direction to stop because a car was coming, don't cross the road, we needed them to obey those words right away, or they would be in danger. So we reminded them of that. When mommy asks you to do this, I need you to follow that direction right away. And then we just told them as they got older that we care that they, when God asks them to do something, that they say, yes, God, I'll be glad to, because they have been faithful to obey our little directions. They can be trusted. He will see that they're trusted when he asks them to do bigger tasks.
I love that. And I think there's so much wisdom there. And I feel like when I talk to parents now, like grown parents, and I'll say, did you have to learn things the hard way? And if I'm talking at a conference, I'll get people to raise their hand. I'll say, put up your hand if you were the person growing up that if you were told not to touch the stove, you had to touch the stove. And my hand's up because I had to know, why not? How hot is it? Would it really hurt? I need to see. I need to find out. That's me. But there's always other hands that go up, and I'll say, okay, so you had to learn it the hard way. You had to learn it for yourself. You couldn't just listen to someone else's wisdom. You had to see for yourself. And then I said, okay, now put your hands down. To those people, I'll say, put your hands back up if you wished you could have learned things quicker. Right. And so often moms in particular, we want to have so much grace. We want to give lots of room, and we don't want to have a consequence because that's not fun. And we don't want our child to be upset, and we don't want to hurt them. And I understand all of that. But for those kids that have to learn the hard way, we're not actually helping them by preventing that. The better solution is let's help them learn in a safe way, not a harsh way. Right? Let's give them that feedback in an appropriate way now while they're younger so that they can learn, and not as they're older. Because the older we get, the consequences get bigger.
Right. Well, I had siblings who had to learn the hard way. So I looked at that and said, oh boy, they had their consequence. I don't want a consequence. And so I said, I don't know when it was, but I kind of determined in my mind that, okay, when mom asked me to do something, when dad asked me to do something, I'm going to do it right away. And then, because then I got a reward. And I had to work through people pleasing as an adult.
Comes with its own set of weaknesses.
Yes, that's right. That's right. But in my parenting, then that came out when my children wouldn't obey right away, because I grew up with that mindset of, yes, I will follow directions right away because I know good things come. So then I was harsh when I had to remind them. And I thought, well, why do I tell you one time and you do it? Right.
I know what's best for you. Just listen to me. Yes.
That's right. Even with my marriage, like my husband, I would get offended. Why do I have to tell you this again? Like, can I tell you once? I have to work on this.
Sometimes when I'm working with a family and both parents were like you, Kimberly, and they didn't get into trouble. They were good kids. They listened to their parents. Often they had a sibling that did get into some trouble, did have to learn the hard way. And they decided, I'm not going to do that. Like, why won't they just listen? Why do they keep getting in trouble? And then they have these kids, and one or more of these kids is that way. And they're defiant and pushing back and not listening. And it's so hard for those parents to understand that it's not personal, that this is just how they're built, how they're wired. The good news for anyone that's listening or watching this, the good news is if you've got a child that has to learn the hard way, you just need to help them to learn the lessons. And the wonderful thing is they learn them good. Like when I learned that stoves were hot,
Yeah.
I took that with me my whole life. And even in my faith, like as a young person, I definitely rebelled. I had to see what the world had to offer. I had to, everything I did was full send. I had to see, learn the hard way. And I did learn the hard way. And now the nice thing is I'm super strong in my faith. Like nobody could convince me otherwise, because I feel like I learned my lesson and I know 100%. I know what I know. I know what I believe.
Well, that gives hope. That's the words of life that we can speak over our children who are defiant, instead of saying, why don't they just listen? Don't they know that this is better for them? We can speak out, okay, they are going to be even stronger. And yes, that's
100%. I think for parents that have so-called strong-willed children, I think something that was really helpful in my own life, because I was one, I kind of still am one, working on it. And I've raised a couple and I've helped lots of families with this, is teaching them about the word grit. Grit is a buzzword. It's, it's been made more popular, and studies have shown that grit is in many ways one of the top 3 predictors of future success. Now, grit, as a young person, raising a kid with grit looks a lot like pushback, because these are the determined kids that are they're gonna die on that hill. They are gonna dig in, and if they believe something, these are the kids that are justice motivated, no fair. I'm gonna fight this because I don't believe it's right. And it can be really hard to raise these kids, but that grit will serve them. It will serve them in life. And when you teach kids that, no, they're not broken, there's nothing wrong with them, you just have a ton of grit and we're figuring this out. And you know what? When we get it figured out, you're going to be unstoppable. It's going to be amazing. You have an incredible destiny and a calling. And I can't wait to see what you're going to do with it. And a really great example of one of my kids, the one that has so much grit. And so giving him those words and that hope that, no, there's nothing wrong with you. This is amazing. And we're going to figure this out together. And one day he was in trouble for something because he was pushing back on a family rule that he didn't agree with. And he was sitting by himself, getting calm. And he was sitting there and I could hear him talking, man, this grit, I just have too much grit. This grit always gets me in trouble. And I loved that. He wasn't internalizing something negative. He was just like, oh, that grit again. Man, I got to figure this out.
Yes, we can equip our children to succeed in so many ways. Give them this perspective, right? Have these conversations with them.
Yes. Yeah. I'm all about that. The more I work with families, the more I love strong-willed kids, man. They are my passion. I'm like, oh, they're so much fun.
Great. Well, let's talk about reaching our child's heart. Tell us how we know if we as moms and dads are reaching our children's heart. I loved my mom and dad talking together. I knew my dad wouldn't make fun of the boys that I liked. And then there were those times where you're like, no, mom, you don't understand. And you roll your eyes at them. So how do we know that we're doing okay with this parenting thing?
Great question, Kimberly. Well, I would say a couple of things, and maybe it's different for every family, because some families are super jokey and they like to have fun and they like to laugh, and other families, they like to be more subdued and have just like shoulder to shoulder time together doing an activity. So of course, every family has to adapt this to make it work for them and for their own family culture. But a couple of things that I love to do is I'm this is my soapbox now, is the weekly family one-on-one. I am a huge believer in this. I've seen it pay off in every way over a decade with my family. And this is really all it is that once a week, ideally. Now, do we miss weeks? 100%, but ideally, you plan for once a week, you have a one-on-one meeting with your kids where the goal is not to talk to them about a negative behavior. I know it's tempting, but no, that's not the goal. The goal is to simply connect intentionally and reach their heart. So I like to ask 3 questions. So I pull one of them into a room, and we know this is coming for us every Sunday night. Now they're getting older, so we have to adjust it. But every Sunday night, we take them in one at a time and we ask 3 questions. They're always the same 3 questions. Our kids know what to expect, and they're, how are you doing? How are you? And now I have all boys. And so sometimes, fine. Number 2 is, how's your life going? And this is where we can talk about friends or school or activities or sports teams or whatever. And then number 3, now this will depend. If you're a family of faith, you can say, how can I pray for you? Or how can we pray for you this week? And if not, then you can adapt that and be like, hey, how can I help you this week? And this is an opportunity for it. Like, is there anything you need from me? Is there anything you need in terms of school? Is there anything you feel like you're missing? Any subject, any activities, any crafts, any whatever you need. It could also be like, what do you need? Do you need some more one-on-one time? Do we need to set up a time to help you with this skill? Like, what do you need? If you're a family of faith, how can we pray for you? And no matter what, no matter how distant my kids have been in the first 2 questions, if you ask someone, how can we pray for you? They'll usually have an answer, right? Even if it's, I don't know, pray for my week. Sure. And we pray over them. And if you do that, maybe the first couple of weeks, your kids are like, what is this? Like, oh, nothing. I'm fine. Leave me alone. But they know it's coming. It can take 3 minutes. But the fact is, you're telling your kids that I am being intentional about taking a minute to look you in your eye, to say, I care and I'm interested. I'm interested in the day-to-day stuff. I'm interested in how your heart's doing. I'm interested in the deeper things. I want to pray for you. I want to help you. I want to be there for you. And you're just kind of providing the environment for that to be there. Now, over time, your kids are going to start opening up a little bit more. And over time, you'll see that they'll come to you and they'll be like, oh, I want to talk to you about this at our one-on-one. Okay, great. If you've got a busy family, you're homeschooling, you got lots of kids. I've had one of my kids come to me and be like, Mom, I don't know if I can wait till our one-on-one. Can I talk to you now?
Oh,
sure.
Yeah.
Sure, we can. It's just provided a resource. And I like to teach it to help parents to see it as valuable as it is in this way. If you were working in an office and you had a regular meeting with your boss, and let's say you knew you were meeting with your boss on Friday at 2, little things that came up in the week, you could file that away. You could be like, you know what? I want to talk about that on Friday. I'm going to bring that up at our meeting. I'm going to, this coworker issue, which is generally a sibling. My sister is driving me crazy. My brother,
Right.
he always gets me in trouble, and you treat him, it's not fair. All of those things. If you know you have a meeting with your boss, you can handle them better because you know they're coming. What if there was no meeting with the boss? Then either, like, what are your options in the office? You either have to stuff it down and try and ignore it, or you might deal with it in an inappropriate way.
Right.
You might have to use drama, anger. It might blow up and then it becomes a bigger deal. And then it's something we have to talk about right now. But I loved that in our home. And I saw that the siblings got along better when they knew they had this time. And yes, a lot of it is, oh, my brother's driving me crazy. He keeps going into my room. They say these things to me over and over. You always take their side. A lot of it is that. But this is your opportunity to hear their heart. And because it's one-on-one, you can say things like, yeah, I know your sister can be really annoying. I know that she does that to you on purpose. I will watch for it. You couldn't maybe say that in front of everyone. Like, right. I know your brother's working on using his words kindly, and sometimes he can be mean. We're working on that with him, and I'll try and watch for that more. And let's talk about a strategy and how can I help you in the middle of that? It gives you a space to be able to help them in their home, in their life. Because let's remember, they didn't sign up for this. You did. You had decided to have 3 kids. They did not sign up for all these siblings. They didn't pick their coworkers.
Yes. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, that I think has been the number one, to the point that now I have a grown son, who's married. And because we did this with them when they were engaged, I would pull them in. I would pull fiance in. How are you doing? How's your life going? How can I pray for you? And I think now we are closer because of it, because I can call them at any time, be like, how are you doing? How's your life going? How can I? And it's not absurd to them. It's not out of the blue. It's like, oh yeah, they care. They care about those little things. I feel like if you do that and then you just look for little moments throughout your day, you look for those times to look into their eye, you have those little jokey moments, you get interested in what interests them.
Yeah.
If they like a certain YouTube channel, well, why? You could ask them questions. When I'm working with a teen, even if I don't like the music at all, I will listen to a song and be like, "Oh, that's interesting," like the beat, or I'll find something interesting about it. And then I'll come back and be like, "Hey, why did you pick this? Why is this your favorite song? I thought this was interesting." Just look for ways to kind of connect.
I bet your son will continue that in his family.
Yep. I would say that has been the number one predictor of our connection in the home, because we're all busy. We're all busy. And I didn't want to leave it to chance. I thought, if nothing else, I want my kids to know that I will be here for them. I will be intentional about making time. Yeah, if something goes wrong, I'm there. But I don't want to wait until something's on fire. I want them to know that I care about all the things in their heart.
Yes, you proved to them with your actions that you want to hear them.
Yep.
And that you see them and that you care. That's beautiful.
Yep. I don't regret that at all. And that is something that I think any family can adapt, modify, make it work for you. Single parents, make that work for you. And it can take 15 minutes.
Right. Oh, this was so fantastic, Jenn. I don't want our time to be up. I would love for you to share how our listeners can follow you and learn more of these amazing golden nuggets from you.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Kimberly, for having me on your podcast. I'm excited to have you as a guest on mine. We'll get that organized. My podcast is Families Matter Most, and you can Google that wherever you get this podcast. I will likely be there also. And then we have the socials. So Families Matter Most on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and even TikTok. My goodness. Yeah, I have a website, familiesmattermost.com, where anyone that's interested in family coaching or private coaching can book a free strategy call. And I can just hear your heart and see what you're struggling with and maybe what the best solution might be. But my goal is every strategy call, no matter what people decide to do, I'm going to give them something they can use right then. So you're going to get something valuable no matter what.
For sure. We believe that because you have given us so many valuable tips in our short conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kimberly.
If you would like to hear more from Jenn, she will be teaching a session at the Canadian Online Homeschool Conference 2023 that's happening right now, this week, February 6th through 10th. She's sharing 2 sessions. One is called The Lies We Believe. I'm so thrilled for this one because we talk all the time here on the podcast about checking in. Am I believing a lie right now? Maybe it feels like this moment is too much. There's no solution here. Or we worry about ruining our children. We struggle with mom guilt. But is all of that true, or is it a lie? Jenn will be sharing how we can deal with emotions and issues in a healthy way so that we don't get into the pit of despair. I'm ready for this live parenting coaching session happening tomorrow, Friday. Jenn is also doing a live workshop for preteens and teens titled Real Me that will help them to explore what makes them who they are, to wholly accept themselves, their strengths and their weaknesses, and to learn how to be kind to themselves. That's happening this evening. And Jenn will be doing a live coffee talk with Teresa Weirdrick from Capturing the Charmed Life tonight as well. I'm so glad that Jenn is sharing her family coaching experience with all of us. Again, these sessions will be available at the Canadian Online Homeschool Conference that's happening now, February 6 through 10. You can still take in all of the sessions. The link is in the show notes. Don't miss out on the upcoming Canadian Online Homeschool Conference happening February 6th through 10th. Whether you are new to homeschooling or have a few years under your belt, the Canadian Online Homeschool Conference is a wonderful resource. I look forward to it each year. It is an online conference. You can take in the sessions while in your PJs. There are 33 speakers, including 12 sessions for kids and teens. I'll be a speaker during the elementary focused day, day 3, with a session called Goodbye Boring, Hello Homeschool Fun and Eager Learners. If you are finding your homeschool days boring, if it feels like the same thing each day, you want eager learners, but you're actually just nagging them to get their schoolwork done. In my session, you'll get activity and game ideas that will make reading and math fun and new each homeschool day for all of your learners, especially when they don't want to do workbooks or have no desire to read or write stories. A new idea for each day for a whole month, all with little prep time needed. Find the link in the show notes. Mama, have you added the Renewed Mama podcast to your favorites for a deeper, practical, we're in this together connection? Follow or subscribe so that you won't miss an upcoming episode. If any of this content on the Renewed Mama podcast has blessed you or helped you in any way, would you take a moment right now to leave a review? This is the only way I know whether or not this content is helping you to think right, to speak right, and to respond right. Leaving a review also helps more mamas like you find the podcast and learn that they can keep watch over their thoughts and their words so that they stay renewed and live from a place of joy and peace as we juggle all the things. I thank you in advance for leaving a review. I can't wait to hear yours. Don't forget to DM 3 mamas you know who can use Jenn's encouragement and golden nuggets. Share this podcast with them so that they can be encouraged too. Thank you. Lots of love. Bye.